certainly some good has happened.
Absolutely.
And like Angela says, on the opposite side, you heard Emmanuel Bois, right? They won't see anything that's right. How does that feel?
Okay, Samson, first of all, I must commend the president for performing his constitutional mandate, even after the expiration of his term. I think sometimes we don't celebrate our democracy enough. I know it takes a lot for successive government to go through this process. I was also very excited about the light and humorous aspect of the whole presentation, because the president is no stranger to the House, either as a member of parliament or as a president. So there are aspects, although I get the benefit of seeing even his presentation even before
and yes, we
it
hope
is delivered.
We hope his aide-de-camp is doing well.
By the grace of God.
We understood sometime in the evening that he was responding to treatment in the hospital. And again, the media, we just have to take the lessons. The ethics cannot be compromised. This was not something that you should focus, zoom on and begin to show to the world. That was wrong. Yes.
Yes. So by the grace of God, the president was able to go before the August House to perform that mandate. Most importantly, I understand Dr. Dwamina's perspective. Individually and as organizations, I believe we have our own highlights and expectations of what we want to hear from the president. But mind you, the opportunity to present the message on this on the state of the nation is such that you may not be able to capture everything. So in the minds, like I'm speaking from the perspective of a drafter and understanding the thinking of the president, to say that successive every single year he presents sooner. There are times you'll be thinking that some issues or some aspects of the presentation have been highlighted in previous presentations enough, and there is no need to be repetitive. There are some other issues that are also priorities among priorities that are of public interest, to the extent that they are continuous development or ongoing development. For instance, if there is a presentation of such nature and economic issues are always on the table, you cannot escape that. I was also excited about the fact that His Excellency the President took the time to bring comparative data of what he received in January 2017 and what he is leaving on January 2025. I think that is so important because we always say that to whom much is given, much is expected. I believe people had expectations in the context of what is available. And the president came and said, with what I was given, this is what I was able to achieve. I may not have achieved everything. And I think we also need to commend him for aspects that, like the Boko conflict. The president, I know personally that he was committed to doing everything. There are unresolved...
The conflict has only gotten worse.
Yes, and I am saying that regrettably, it is not everything that we were able to do. And it is important that when necessary, some admissions are made, and also to highlight the issues so that the incoming government will take it up and know that these are, if there are consensus or not, these are issues that the other side would have wished to continue.
Right.
But let me come to the specifics. And especially because of Dr. Dwamina's presentation, I would like to start with health, come to education, and then the economy.
And be brief about them.
As much as I can. We discussed the conversations about this government's investment in healthcare, and it appears as if everything is Agenda 111. But the Agenda 111 project started after COVID-19. From the promise to the planning to the execution, all started after COVID-19. And this was the case because when we were faced with a global pandemic, that is when the real size or the reality of our health sector and its ability to absorb some of these unexpected crises came to the attention of everybody.
And what you do is leave hospitals that were in the progress, some about to be completed, some completed but not fully finished, leave them and start 111 new ones?
Interestingly, something, I have the data here. With your kind permission, I'll run you through. To the best of my knowledge, President Akufo-Addo commissioned at least 47 hospitals outside Agenda 111 since 2017. And if you allow me, I'll take you through the list of hospitals. I know for those who were not following some of the legacy hospital projects, the president in the last 2 months commissioned about 10 hospitals at a go. And if people were minded to say, these are legacy hospitals, and even some other hospitals that were started by this administration, he made sure to complete them outside Agenda 111. But during the pandemic, the government realized that there were 87 districts without district hospitals, no referral points. In fact, in the Upper East region, 8 districts did not have district hospitals. In the Volta region, 8 districts did not have district hospitals. Upon creation of the new regions, there were no regional hospitals. Even some existing regions like Oforidua and Eastern region and Western region, the state of their regional hospitals were nothing to write home about. So beyond the president trying to complete, you know, he completed the UGMC phase 2, the VAMET projects, the Eurojet projects, and a whole lot. And if you permit me, from Achiase to Chedie to Tolong to Ashaiman to all those projects, Akontomra, the district hospitals in Akontomra, Bogoso, Lubo, Mpoho, Nsuayem, Wasadunkwao, Weta in the Volta region, Tolong, Sola, Bupe, Bamboy, Swame, Chedie, Sabronum, Drobonso, Manson Kwanta, Emim, Mkwetia, Kwabing in the Tiwa East, Dukrum, Achiase, Jumapo, Ponkatamanso, Sehuasarinso, Ashama Polyclinic, Adenta. In fact, there are so many hospitals, including the famous Fomina in Kumewu. The president completed and commissioned them. But even with all that, we realize that, for instance,
3 Agenda 111 hospitals.
Yes, those are Trede.
We are told that he simply has commissioned buildings. And you know, hospitals are different from buildings.
Something. It is sad to say that you were asking about my expectations. Of course, I wasn't expecting my own big brother, Honorable Amabua, to be praising the president. I understand the politics of the floor. And especially in times like this, we are in the troll season and the honeymoon season for the incoming president. So for some of us, it is nothing new. But it does not take away from the approach of the Akufo-Addo administration to a holistic reform in our health sector. Look at the medical drone delivery system. I have been to UN and other international platforms that people want to take pages out of Ghana's book as to how a country like Ghana will be able to run one of the largest medical drone delivery systems in the world. I believe for those in the villages who would have died but for a shot of antivenom, or who would have died but for a drop of a pint of blood, they would appreciate some of these interventions. So it does not take away from the fact that even among the 98 that the president said are between 5% and 95% completed, my district in the Upper East region, Garu district, has one of the hospitals that is built, completed. The fact that it is not completed and commissioned is because of equipment and furnishing. But if you go to Garu today...
But those are the things that make a hospital.
So the 3 that they were able to finish, those were the ones that he commissioned at Bokro in Ahanta West and Kokobing in Ashanti region and Trede in Ashanti region. Okay. I did the production. Right. I have seen the coverage. No one can tell me that you go to Trede today, there is no bed, there is nothing there. But let me take the conversation away from health, especially when we have a female panel. I want to point one thing to you. Something, I will not be sitting here but for education. And in the year 2005, I almost didn't write SSC because of registration fee of 40 Ghana cedis. Just that, 40 Ghana cedis. And if you look at the available data at the Ghana Education Service and look at what Free SHS has done to gender parity, I think it is fair enough to say that it is one of the best things that has happened to gender courses in Ghana. I'm saying this because the boy-to-girl ratio in SHS at 2017 was said that for every 100 boys in school, there were 64 girls. By the end of 2023, for every 100 boys in SHS, there were 106 girls. And these are facts. I've not changed anything. I've not tagged it.
And it's all because of free SHS.
It is because the financial barrier was removed, and families who would have been forced to choose who should go said, all of you should go and be working through the system. At least you will get the SS certificate.
But do you sincerely think the accurate thing to do is to lump up all those who have gone through SHS within the period and say, but for bringing the free part of it, they would have lost the opportunity of education?
It is important because you look at the data of students at every academic year, the number of students who were in school, and the jump, the number, the jump, they just don't make sense. But for the fact that something substantial have happened, because the trend,
the narrative suggests that there would have been zero student enrollment.
No, it doesn't. No. I don't think that is the impression we are seeking to create. No, of course, before free SHS, there were people in SHS, but we are saying that even at that time, when they had this Cocoa Ball scholarship, a lot of scholarship schemes, there were many people who were saying that the beneficiaries were the children of the same people who were wearing coat and tie, and not the beneficiaries of the cocoa farmers and everybody. And this government said free SHS has come to remove the bureaucracy in scholarships. It has come to remove the discretion on parents, and then people who have the fiduciary duty over their house girls and house boys to say, you will not go. And it's a decision I have taken.
You know about the Africa Education Watch?
Yes.
They point to what they say is an inaccuracy that the president peddled when he said 5.7 million is the number since 2017 to date. And they tell us about the Education Ministry's own figures that say that there is 3.1 million and not the 5.7. There is also Dr. Peter Pate, who also says that WAEC figures show approximately 4.3 million students sat for BEC between 2017 and 2024. So the president on the figures is wrong.
Okay, first of all, Samson, let me remind you that the president does not conjure figures. Whatever the president has will come from two sources. Either the Ministry of Education that is implementing the free SHS, or the Ministry of Finance that is paying for the free SHS. And there was also a trend in 2017 and beyond, where students who had sat home for years, some completed 2013, 2014, 2015, there are even videos and documentaries of people who even had kids. But as soon as free SHS was introduced, they said, let me take advantage of this development and go back to school. So I think that, of course, if there are concerns about reconciliation in respect of figures, legitimately so, we should look at it. But it is not sufficient to say the data should depend on only those who wrote BEC within the period. Right. Especially up north. You will meet a 20-year-old, 25-year-old who is now in the class.
I need to go around. I know that there are many areas that you would have liked to speak about, but I need you to clarify a few things. The president said, quote, I inherited a nation plagued by dumsor. Is that accurate?
It is accurate.
No, he inherited a nation where dumsor had been resolved.
No. Dumsor was not resolved.
It was resolved.
In fact,
I think we will not debate that.
If you look at dumsor was not resolved, I have heard arguments about the fact that, oh, this power badge was, there was this agreement for this power badge and that, and because generation capacity was increased, dumsor was resolved. I was following Honorable Boache Jako when he was at the Energy Ministry. And as late as April 2017,
There were conversations and press conferences about government's efforts to finally put dumsor behind us. Meaning, even when we came to power in 2017, there was still dumsor.
And from our perspective, admit that there was no dumsor. And what will you say to the finance minister and the government when you were saying at the beginning that there was excess capacity?
That was the argument I was coming to. The New Patriotic Party that I belong to, even before we came to government, have been making one argument since 2012, that Ghana's energy sector challenge is not a capacity challenge. It is a money challenge. We have repeated this narrative over and over again. And in terms of consistency of presentation on our position on developments in the energy sector, I believe we have been our side have been more consistent than everyone. We said there are thermal plants. If there is no fuel to power them, if you are unable to honor your obligations to some of these IPPs, they will cut supply. If they cut supply, the energy sector is about a value chain. It's generation, transmission, and distribution. You can generate, but if the transition has challenges, you will suffer. If the distribution has challenges, you will suffer. But our government, although we also added to the continuous capacity improvements or addition to capacity, the government took steps to make sure we honor obligations to IPP so that they can continue to supply. Well, you remember when WAPCO, somewhere in December 2023, just about a year ago, said that because the government was owing them some 19 million, they were cutting supply. We came out to the public and said that there were payment challenges. We've paid 6 million. We are paying additional amount so that they can restore service. And also, finally, something. Before I drop the conversation.
There is fact that by the time the NPP took over in 2017, the lights were on.
Samson,
they were not off.
They were not.
My testimony is that the lights were on.
My testimony was that we were still struggling with.
I needed you quickly. What do you say to people who say, which country does the president live in when he says the economy is not broke? Because we are talking about an economy that has suffered, that has a historic, debt burden. Sky-high inflation. One needs more than 15 cedis for a single dollar. So what does he mean when he says the economy is not broke? In fact, he uses the words that he had made the sacrifices that bondholders made, quote, form the basis of revival of the economy. Revival of a healthy economy?
Samson, when we talk about Ghana's economy, it does not have only 3 indicators. I must admit, just as the president did, that inflation or cost of living is a very important indicator. So when we look at an inflation rate of about 23% at the end of November, it is not something we are proud of, and admittedly so. But the conversation around the economy cannot be left with only conversations about inflation. As relevant as inflation are other indicators of economic development. And let me take you through some of them. There is comparative data of Ghana's total GDP that the president or the NPP government inherited of $56 billion. As the president leaves office, it is estimated that the country's GDP stands at $76 billion. A difference of about $20 billion during his term of office through industrialization, because we've seen the quarterly growth rate of 2024 and see how industry is contributing to that growth. We cannot say that the president did nothing. If not for anything at all, what he was given as the country's GDP, he did not send us in recession. Also, there was this trend post-COVID or even during COVID. The world experienced a recession. Incumbent governments were punished for it all over the world, not just Africa. In Africa, even incumbent governments that were not toppled became unpopular, like the ANC in South Africa. If it happened to the Tories, if it happened to the Democrats, that's why some of our colleagues will say we were aware that globally, the kind of hardships that some of these global challenges have brought on the world
and the recession that the world order has gone through, it's said that people are really dealing with real-time hardships. But for incumbent government, your responsibility is not to join the rant. So sometimes when people are ranting and you are also not ranting, it's as if you are tone deaf. But the moment you are given the power and authority, yours is to provide solutions and walk people through what you are doing. So it may not be as smooth and interesting a conversation, but this government is saying there is a track record of how governments spend in election year and the deficit that they record, just as they recorded in 2016 over 6%. But in our 2024 election year, we made sure we did not saddle the country with such figures. Okay. The government is saying that, yes, we have a situation whereby the energy sector is still having some debts, but this is what we inherited. And with the projections that were given, that the energy sector debt is estimated to go beyond 12.5 billion, because of our efforts, we are at where we took off from. And at least, yes, and comparatively, and in all honesty, every well-meaning Ghanaian will agree with me that the power situation under President Akufo-Addo was better than the power situation under former President Mahama.
All right.